Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Mysteries and Oddities video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's talk about another entry here based on one of your newer suggestions. This one, again, having to do with yet another fascinating object, something that's just so mysterious, potentially man-made, potentially not, and it has to do with an item that is found in a national park, no less. You can go there to this very day and see it in person, and what makes it so mysterious is how potentially old this thing is, how it looks, and then how it could have stayed there essentially for this long period of time. It's one of a kind, in fact, so much so that it's considered what's called an out-of-place artifact, which I'll highlight more here in a minute. But yes, it has to do with this. You're looking at it now. It has a very interesting moniker, very trendy. It's known as the Iron Man, or in some cases known as the Iron Man of Kottenforst-Ville, and it's basically a monolith looking metal bar that is found buried there in a German national forest. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating information tied to this unique quote-unquote out-of-place artifact. So what is this so-called Iron Man? Well, again, you have to go there to a forest located in Germany. In this case, it's known as the Kottenforst-Ville Nature Park. If you go there, you're going to go about maybe 2 kilometers northeast of a village called Dunstikoven, if I'm not mistaken, if that's how it's said. But yes, if you go towards that location, maybe do a little bit of hiking, once you get there, you'll find this thing looking right there. Very, very fascinating. It just has that aura already to it. I mean, maybe it's because of the movie, obviously, 2001, when you see something monolithic, but whenever you see that, it just immediately looks very intriguing. As far as its physical characteristics, here's what it is. So this thing, this metal bar, it has both let's say a height above the ground and then also below the ground too. Above the ground, it actually measures a little over 4 feet, so it's not too small, but it's not too tall at the same time. However, underneath the ground, there's another 9 feet of this thing buried underneath it. So entrenched is it within the dirt, and I guess so heavy at the same time because of its composition, that even trying to pull it out with a powerful tractor cannot do it. It's just stuck in there. It's wedged in there. I'm sure that if enough force can be applied and enough earth can be removed, then it can probably be done so, because there's the idea that it was originally at another location at one point. But yes, otherwise it's been remained there for a very long time. In fact, the going theory is that it has been there since 1727. Long time. We're talking almost 300 years, in fact, with regards to its current existence. And so there has been at that location for those centuries, just basically standing still, maybe doing some kind of, in a weird way, just observing the entire state of the world passing it by. But yes, if you go there to that location, then you'll be able to see it and then even touch it in person. As far as its character, like its actual composition itself, here's what it's made of. Surprisingly enough, throughout its entire known existence there since 1727, nobody ever bothered to test out its material until the 1970s. And when the metallurgy test was done, it was found that it was made primarily of pig iron. And so I had to look up a little bit of info to see what pig iron is. It seems like it's essentially a transitional metal, something that's created whenever you smelt ore along with some kind of fuel. And the going theory on how this thing was created, if it truly was man-made, was there was something done, let's say there was a cast or some kind of wood, something like a mold that was placed under the ground, and then it was poured into it, and then as it reached the ground, the top level itself, then whoever was creating this would control the flow by having this cast go above the ground as well. So think of it like let's say like a pocket was formed on the earth, then the metal was was poured into that small pocket. This pocket, of course, be having something like a cast, something that would control it. And then as the metal reached the ground, and then that's when it was also controlled by more of this material, making its shape above the ground itself. And then it would just cool, and then that's when you get its look right now. It has a very uneven, let's say not finalized look to it there. Maybe makes it more distinct at the same time, all this uneven stuff, as opposed to, let's say again, the monolith from the 2001 series. It just, I think it makes it stand out more, it looking this way, than something along the lines of a very smooth surface. It just makes it look, I don't know, like it's something more alive in a sense. But yes, as far as its construction, that's the going theory, that it was somewhere along the way created and then placed there in 1727. Now, where it was before also remains something of a mystery too, because where its current location is, apparently it was placed there as a marker, something like, and let's say what the equivalent of a road sign for today. Anybody that was traveling within that area would come across it and then realize that this is a marker of some sort. The only thing is, it's, if it was truly a marker, it's the only one of its kind, because nowhere there, anywhere else in Europe, has there been anything else like this. So if there was truly other ones, then maybe there were, but they suffered throughout the passage of time and then just completely broke down, and we never knew what their locations were because they're completely gone. But this one has stood the test of time, and what makes another mysterious mark on it is the fact that even to this very day, over 300 years, almost 300 years standing out there in the open like that, there's very little rust tied to it. Apparently, when you're dealing with pig iron or the materials associated with pig iron, then you do have, especially if it's exposed to the elements, a lot of rust that can form. But in this case, it's a testament to whoever created this artifact, because the work that they did allowed it to essentially be out there hundreds of years and then look almost as pristine as it did back then. No rust, no decomposition, no corrosion, nothing like that. It's just pretty much looking the same way as you and I see it today as it was back then. But yes, it was apparently there, located at some like a cross section of medieval trails, and that's why it was considered a marker, because it was a visual representation of whoever was traveling within that area that this is something else, like they've reached a certain destination. Before that, though, interestingly enough, there's earlier documentation dating to 1625 that this one pillar was considered to have existed somewhere else near a borderline of some Roman aqueduct. So I don't know exactly what it was doing there at that point. Maybe it was also a marker or some kind of pointer, I guess, at that location, but it dated back to, even back then, 1625. So we're talking about something that at least has been close to 400 years old. But there's another going theory that this thing may have even existed even before then, and that ties into what I was mentioning earlier. It's considered in a roundabout way an out of place artifact, which those are items that are stuff that stands out out of the usual from its known period, like just the other day when I was talking about the London hammer. That thing, if it truly was tested and it was correct in terms of its age, is a hammer that shouldn't have been in existence, considering at the time that it was so old that humans would not have had it, and yet there it is, apparently, dated to being very, very, very old. Such is the case here. The technology at the time would not have allowed something like this to have been created with ease. There would have been a lot of effort put into it, and this is going on the fact that it was either created in the 1700s or maybe even the 1600s, let alone something even further older than that. That's why it's considered an out of place object, because it's too advanced for the people of that time, and yet there it is in existence. So again, if this was something that was created by humans, great, they did a really fantastic job. Or if it was something else by some other entity, who knows, but no answer has come forth just yet. But that's it. That's pretty much all the info tied to the so-called Iron Man there in Kottenforst. I love it, the fact that you can just go up there and then see it, touch it, take pictures of it, maybe try to see if anything weird or bizarre happens. Thus far, though, nothing stands out in terms of, let's say, people reporting, like you hear in other areas, UFO sightings or strange paranormal activities, a mystical sense whenever you approach that location. Nothing along those lines. In all essence, it just seems to point to it just being some kind of object that's just standing out from the ground. But still, it would definitely intrigue me, and I would love to be able to go see it in person one of these days. One of a kind too, the only one you'll ever find there in Europe, and as far as I can tell, nowhere else in the world either. Nothing like this as that exists anywhere. So if anybody has any more info, anything else that stands out that you'd like to share, please post those comments. Anybody lucky enough to have gone there to that location, again, it's located there in Kottenforst. So if you're there in the German area and you have a chance to go by that location, that Kottenforst-Ville Nature Park, then and you can do so, then lucky you, you'll be able to see this thing in person. Or if anyone knows anybody that has friends, family members, whatever is the case, please post those comments below. So, all right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.